Recently, I've been doing my own research concerning the alienation of American men in the dating market. And of course, we know there are many factors as to why that is. One out of every two relationships starts on social media. And what that means is that when women swipe on social media on dating apps like Tinder, well, they're really alienating certain aspects of men that in previous generations would be a game changer as to a man mating with a woman. They're leaving out the fact that a man is funny, charismatic, that he possesses leadership qualities or provision qualities, and they're pretty much alienating these men based on pictures or videos of themselves. That's one thing. But another thing that I want to talk about, besides some of the other things as, women owning more homes or being more educated, one of the things I think that's causing American men to suffer is that women feel American men are just not masculine enough. Hear me out for a minute, all right? Now, I've heard some pretty decent arguments that, American men's testosterone is cut half by generation. That could be a theory. I don't know if we can prove that. But one thing for sure is American men appear to be more feminine. We even see by the way that some of these guys are dressing. Look at the athletes here. Russell Westbrook wearing a skirt, Young Thug putting on lipstick. Yes, it's more socially acceptable. A lot of American men appear more feminine. But what is the real reason why American men appear more feminine? Well, I want to give a shout out to one of the brothers out here, Ronan the Traveler, right? And I think this is a really good example. Actually, it's Ronan the Wandering Traveler. He talks about an experience of him dealing with a lady he met offline that had a son. I want to play that and we'll come right back.
Let me give you something. I got a story. So I go on Match.com, and this a while back, and I meet this chick. She was a doctor, well educated. She let me know every 5 minutes how many degrees she had, and I didn't care anything about it, but she felt like she had to tell me this. But for us being a woman, she was pretty good, man. She cooked, she did everything when she came home, but she had a son, and her son was only raised with her. She didn't know how I fit in that. And I'm coming in there and I see the boy. I'm dealing with him how I was raised. I was surrounded by men in my life, and I like, hey man, stop crying, stop whining. And she would stop me every time I would, man, what are you crying for, man? You too big, dude. And the boy I'm talking about, he was big. And I was like, look, dude. I remember he fell off one of those little hoverboards, and he started crying like a little chick. And I was like, look, man, get up, wipe yourself off. Like my dad told me, you ain't got nothing to cry about. And she came downstairs and she was like, don't you ever tell my son anything like that. I'm like, what? Don't you ever let him express his emotions. Man, I put my beer down, got my car, and drove off. Like I never talked to them again.
So guys, shout out to Ronan the Wandering Traveler. He's a brother out of the New Orleans area, but living in the Dominican Republic. Go check him out. You'll have a great experience over there. I think this is very interesting. He said that he met a lady who was doing very well. The lady was a doctor, but at the same time, also a single mother. Now, he liked the lady. He liked the fact that she cooked and she was a nice lady. And obviously the relationship was progressing at a pace that she felt comfortable enough to let him meet her son. Now, I want to talk about the differences between now and in the past. In the past, the black community never really saw a problem with merging families. Even a lot of white folks. That's why we had the hit show The Brady Bunch in the 70s, because it was a guy and a woman that merged two families and they lived together. That was very common in the 70s and 80s. That was not out of the norm. But what was also not out of the norm was that once you married a man, He became the man of the house. And that man was able to discipline the child if the child got out of line. In other words, even in times before, hey, I remember a time where, your neighbors, if your parents was cool enough, could even discipline you then. That was customary in Black America. You even got it at school. But now when Ronan was trying to tell the young man that, hey, listen, you're crying like a girl. You need to get up, man. Get up, dust yourself off. Stop crying. What did the lady do? She told him, don't you ever tell my son to stop crying. Let him express himself in the way that he wants. So what happens? That man drives away, never talks to her again. Now, let me just say this. My mom and dad split up when I was 14 or 15. But one of the things that I noticed is that whenever I used to ride my bike and cry, my dad would say, hey, man, get up. You got to get up. And it wasn't because he didn't feel sorry for me crying. Of course, I was a little boy. But the reality is that the world doesn't care about you crying as a man. That's something that they care about with women. But you got to get up. And see, what she did was she lost a potential good male role model for her son. And so because he's crying, she might be wanting him to express himself like that because that's her child. But she's not looking at the fact that once he talks to other women as an adult male, they will not respect him. No woman respects a man who cries or who complains or who talks about his feelings. Women want men in any generation that can get the job done, hell or high water. Women like men who don't make excuses and they make things happen. And what we're seeing in today's society is because we have so many women raising boys and there is no men out there to really develop these men, young boys to become young men and be strong young men. These young men are not going to be leaders. And these are going to be the men that these women complain about. And they're not going to respect them. They're going to look at these young boys as jokes. They won't take them serious. Now, obviously, they might find them attractive or might even have sex with them and things like that. But as far as those men being leaders, it's not going to happen. And this is happening throughout America. Young men, especially in urban environments, are not being taught to be tough, to handle adversity. Usually, that's the test of a man. Handling adversity, you don't cry, you don't go around it, you go through it, you go to it, and you get better at the end. But now you're not finding men in America that can do that. You're finding a lot of young men in America today trying to go around it or trying to kowtow to it. And you might think that that's okay, but really women don't respect that. And then what do they start to say? These black men are weak. We need to go to a group of men that know how to lead, that know how to get the job done and all of this stuff. And then these black men are mama's boys. Now, again, this woman wants somebody to, like I said, she wants her son to be able to express himself. But then once black women start, getting involved with her son, they're now asking for the white guy now. They're asking for the Indian man now. They're even asking for the African man now because he knows how to be a man. And this is what is setting these young black men back. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. I really appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe, hit the bell. We're out.